What I really love about this phenom by the name of Shohei Ohtani is he's now led folks to come to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum wanting to learn about the great two-way stars of the Negro Leagues.
Look, it's 6 o'clock, I'm hopping out of the bed. Rain falling, calling X, but my phone line's there.
Perhaps the greatest two-way player of them all was the legendary Wilbur "Bullet" Rogan.
Don't nobody want to dance slow in the rain.
Who was a star for the great Kansas City Monarchs in the Negro Leagues. Now, Bullet Rogan, at first glance, didn't look like a great athlete. Shohei Ohtani is an imposing figure. He is a big young man. But Bullet Rogan was on the opposite end of the spectrum. Stood about 5'7", weighed about 180 pounds. Satchel Paige would call him chunky. But Bullet Rogan was a tremendous athlete. When Bullet Rogan wasn't pitching, he played the outfield and hit cleanup for the Kansas City Monarchs. Bullet Rogan could rake. Leroy Satchel Paige, who said that Bullet Rogan was the onlyest baseball player that he ever saw, that he ever heard of, that pitched and hit cleanup in the batting order. That was Bullet Rogan.
And Feller barnstormed with just about every Negro League star.
Swing and a miss. And he's down on strikes. Great he was. On the ground, Mendez gets it to first. Nice, efficient start to the afternoon. That's 2 out. Number 49 in the box now. No balls and a strike. Comes up empty. That's strike 2.
First team Bullet played on was the 25th Infantry Wreckers in the U.S. Army, and there are actually box scores for a lot of his games for that team.
And a swing and a miss. That K is his 3rd of the game. Number 41 stands in now and watches strike 1. Fought off foul. Gonna count 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Strike 3, and that's 2 in a row. Fans another, and that's 3 straight strikeouts.
3-1. Burning inside of you. I gotta do better. I gotta do better. I gotta do better. There's nothing they can do that I can
Swing and a drive, and no doubt about it, Bullet Rogan blasts that one out of here.
Bullet Rogan was one of the winningest pitchers in Negro Leagues history. He now holds the distinction of having the 4th highest winning percentage in Major League Baseball history. And of course, he earned his nickname Bullet because he got that thing up to the plate in a hurry. What's even more remarkable is he threw from a no wind-up delivery, and yet his nickname was Bullet. He had the heavy fastball. He had a great curveball, a palm ball. I guess you could say he threw everything at hitters, including the kitchen sink. And while his control was not as impeccable as, let's say, a Satchel Paige, Bullet Rogan had the uncanny ability to work himself into jams, but the great stuff and the supreme confidence to get himself out of jams.
This one is over.
In the inaugural Negro League World Series held in 1924, Bullet Rogan won 2 of those games and was one of the hitting stars in that series, helping the Monarchs capture Kansas City's first ever professional sports team championship in 1924. Frank Duncan, who had been a great catcher and would eventually manage the great Kansas City Monarchs, when asked about who he would choose between Satchel Paige and Bullet Rogan, Duncan's response was Rogan, because he knew that Satchel had all the stuff to get you out, but Bullet Rogan's versatility perhaps made him even more valuable than the legendary Leroy Satchel Paige.
Between 1924 and 1925, Bullet Rogan was as good as you can imagine a player possibly being. He won 36 games against just 8 losses, batted .380, tossed 41 complete games out of 50 starts. Top half of the 3rd inning, and now the center fielder, Bullet Rogan. Swing and a drive, and no doubt about it, Bullet Rogan blasts that one out of here.
To give you an indication of Bullet Rogan's supreme confidence, playing down in Cuba, and his catcher was Hall of Famer Raleigh Biz Mackey. And they're facing a team that featured the great Alejandro Ohms, a notorious curveball hitter. And so Mackey is laying down the signs for Rogan, and Rogan's shaking him off because Rogan wants to throw his curveball. And Mackey's like, no, don't throw him a curveball. And Rogan's like, I got this. He can't hit my curveball. And what does he do? He drops 3 hooks and struck Ohms out. Bullet Rogan was a transcending kind of player.
So bases all loaded up. Here's the left fielder. Drops in the curve for strike 1.
To your point, Boog, about Buck having a late entry into pro ball, his dad died when Buck was 12 years old, so he went off to work in a railroad yard, a manufacturing plant, and a steel mill, all to help his family earn a living. Not only did he win a Negro League World Series with Kansas City, but he won a title for Almendares in the Cuban Winter League and multiple championships in the California Winter League.
Swing and a drive, and no doubt about it, Bullet Rogan blasts that one out of here.
Wilbur Rogan would join the Kansas City Monarchs after playing for one of the greatest military baseball teams of all time, the legendary 25th Infantry Wreckers. The thing that I find so fascinating is that these African-American ball players who served valiantly, they were fighting for a country that essentially wasn't fighting for them. And yet if you were to ask them why they wanted to fight and why they wanted to serve, well, the answer would be simple. Because we were American. And there's no greater way to prove how American you are than service to your country. Bullet Rogan was nearly 31 years old when he joined the Negro Leagues. By baseball standards, he's old, and yet Rogan was still tremendously impactful. He would become one of the first superstars of the newly formed Negro National League. In Kansas City, Bullet Rogan lay at rest in a cemetery in what I guess you could describe as a rather nondescript grave site. And a few years ago, we were able to work with the cemetery, who did not allow upright headstones, to install a monument that was befitting a player the magnitude of Wilbur Bullet Rogan, who in 1998 finally crossed over that threshold into baseball's immortality when he was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Swing and a drive, and no doubt about it, Bullet Rogan blasts that one out of here.